This video is going to talk about surface area. We're going to discuss the two types of surface area in 3D figures, lateral and total. We're going to look at different nets and figure out what portion is lateral. So surface area is the sum of all the faces and the bases of a 3D figure, which means I'm going to take and find the area of each one of these pieces which would construct the 3D figure. Now the difference is lateral surface area, it's only the sides, only the faces that are going to be included. So when you look at this figure down here below, this is a base and this is a base. So if I'm doing lateral surface area, the only part that I'm going to be focusing on are these faces that run down the center that would end up being the sides of the 3D figure when you construct it. On this example, we're going to identify the bases, and then we're also going to identify the lateral faces. We're going to do that by coloring in the bases one color, and then we're going to leave everything else blank to show which ones are the lateral faces, and then we'll find the area of all those things. When you're given a prism and it's given to you in a net like this, it's all flat in a 2D perspective, the bases are the pieces that are outside. They're kind of like little wings, and they are above and below, or if the shape was turned the other direction, they would be sticking out the side. But it's just two, and they're exactly the same dimensions. So I'm going to color those in, pick a color that you want, and then I'm going to take the dimensions of those two rectangles. The top one is listed for you. We have a 5 by 2, the length and the width, or base and height. I'm going to list that over to the side. So I have two bases. The first base is on top, 5 by 2, so that takes up 10 units of space. The second base underneath, remember they're always exactly the same size, so the dimensions would still be 5 times 2, 10 units. So now the total amount of space or area taken up by these two bases right here, when you add those two together, you're going to get 20. And this is being measured in centimeters, so it'll be 20 square centimeters for your base. The rest of these pieces right here in the center, these 4 rectangles, these are all going to serve as lateral faces. So if it said it wanted lateral surface area, I would only be focusing on this section in the middle. I'm going to go ahead and label that, and I'm going to write lateral right here so we remember that's what we're talking about. So on this first one, if you look on the far right, it already has dimensions. It has 5 and 10. So I'm going to start listing these out. For my lateral faces, the first one we just said had the dimensions of 5 by 10. So we got 50. When you look at the one next to it, it says the top is going to match up with 2, and then the bottom, it's the same length as the 10. So I'm going to put in 2 times 10, that's 20. And then as you go across, this one right here doesn't have a number listed, but it matches perfectly with this dimension that's in part of the base. So this one is also going to be a 5 times 10. So I'm going to make sure I list that. Again, 5 times 10 is 50. And then when you get to this very far left one, it has a 2 already listed, but again, the entire length of this line is going to match up with 10. So our last piece is going to be 2 by 10 for 20 square units. Our lateral surface area, what we want to do now is add these 4 rectangles together. So 50 plus 50 is 100. 20 plus 20 is 40. So I'm going to go ahead and label the lateral faces 140 square centimeters. If that's what the question asked for, then I would stop and just say 140. But if the question asked for the total surface area, then I'm going to have to go back and I'm going to put my 20 plus my 140 to get the total overall surface area. So 140 plus 20, that's going to equal 160 square centimeters. And remember, this is the total surface area. We had 140 for our lateral surface area. In this picture, we're still going to be identifying the bases and then all the lateral faces that wrap around the center. It's also turned in the same orientation as the one before. So this long section down the center, this is going to be all your lateral faces. And then when it's in that perspective, these pieces that stick out from the sides, these are going to be your bases. So just like in the last one, I'm going to color code it. I'm going to do the bases. I'm going to shade them in, or I'm going to outline them. These are triangles this time. So if you remember how to do the area of a triangle, it's not just base times height. So we're going to look at what we're going to have to do. I'm going to still color in the bottom base. So I know both of these are going to be identically the same. When I do one, I'll just write the measurement down again. On a triangle, you need the base and the height. And what you're looking for is this right angle mark, because that's going to tell you what sides to use for your base and height. So I have a 3 and I have a 4. Those are the two numbers that I need to use for doing the triangles. The 3 and the 4 are the important numbers. So I'm going to label over here on my base. We're supposed to do base times height and then half it, or you can say divide by 2. So my numbers are 3 times 4, and then I want to divide it by 2. 3 times 4 is 12, and if you have 12, you get 6. So this base at the top is worth 6, and then remember we have another one directly underneath it that's going to be 6 as well. So I'm just going to write down another number 6 and then combine them together. The total amount taken up by your two bases would be 12 square units. And then I'm saying square units because over here in the dimensions they don't tell us centimeters like in the last one. So I'm just going to go with 12. The bases take up 12 square units of space. In the last one, we said this section down the middle, all these pieces that we didn't include as a base are the faces, and we said that's going to be called lateral. So I'm going to label that again, just like I did on the last one. This section is called lateral. They're also in prisms. The lateral pieces are always going to be rectangles or squares. They're not always the same size, so you got to make sure you look at your dimensions. In this first one that I see on the far left, it totally has the numbers right beside it, a 3 and a 3. So I'm going to start there. I'm going to say lateral, so I start labeling them. My lateral faces, this first one was 3 by 3. 3 times 3 is 9. I'm going to look at my second one. This has a 5 going across this way, and the amount that goes up and down, it should be the same distance as this one, which is 3. So this rectangle is going to be 5 by 3. I'm going to write that down. 5 times 3 is 15. And then in this one, since it's a triangular prism, we only have one more rectangle out on the side. 4 is listed on the top. And then I need to know how far this outside edge is going up and down. and it corresponds, it's a perfect match with 3. So this last one is going to be 4 times 3. So we're going to add that to the list. 4 times 3 is 12. Now if you add all these up, because I want to know how much total space is taken up by all of these rectangles and squares in the center, 9 plus 15 plus 12, when you put all that together, it's actually going to be 36. So I'm just going to tell you that's going to be 36. The lateral surface area is 36 square units. If I want to get the total, that means I need to add the base plus the lateral faces. So that ending quantity to get my total, I'm going to have 36 plus 12, it's going to be 48. The total surface area is 48 square units.